Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl Shakim B. Today I am very excited to be welcoming a powerhouse of a duo onto the podcast today. Today I'm going to be interviewing Donald and Julia. I'm going to have them come onto the stage and introduce themselves. So without further hesitation, welcome in,
Hey,
guys. Welcome in. Let me fix us. Okay. Hey, y'all.
Very good.
hey,
How
Hi.
you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Not too bad. So do you guys want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, well, ladies first.
My name is Julia, and this is my husband, Donald. He's going to tell more about himself, I'm sure, later. But yeah, we've been married for eight years.
Nice.
Years.
I
8
love
years.
it.
Yeah, and we've been and working and running a business together for about 4 years now.
Yeah, officially probably I think 2 or 3 years, but yeah, otherwise it would be. Yeah, I've been in business we've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. So yeah.
Okay, that's exciting. So for anyone that's new to y'all too, what is it that you guys do?
Yeah, so we have a couple things. I am a real estate agent, a licensed real estate agent, and Julia runs the entire back end of the entire team. But we also run the Agent League, which I gotta figure out what my hat is. There it is. The Agent League, which is a coaching and training platform for real estate agents. And yeah, Julia does. Well, I'll let her explain what the operation side is. You obviously know what a real estate agent does, but my background is marketing and AI and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So I've built a very successful business through that, which is great. And honestly, I would just like to say, like, everything we have is as a gift from God, because I wouldn't have gone into this unless I felt called. But the real estate side has been very successful. It's where Julia came in. We built out a whole team, and yeah, Julia runs the operation, so I'll let her take it over.
Yeah, so essentially we build up the team, like Donald said, for real estate. And then once we realized that what we have is really, really good, we started building a platform so that we could train other agents and ones that weren't just locally in our area, and just expanding that and giving them all the resources and information that they need to really find out what success looks like and defining that for them. And it just aligning with your unique personality. It's really the framework of our business.
I love that. So what inspired you both to combine your unique skills to build a thriving real estate business together?
Honestly, if it's because I cannot do systems. I suck at them. I break them, and she's really good at it. So it was a conversation of, no, I am never joining you in real estate, Donald, at all.
Yep.
To wearing her down over a couple of years, and then she's always been the best fit for me, no matter what. So in our relationship, she's my polar opposite, which is great, because in the business side, she's also my polar opposite, and she's been a natural fit. So where I lack, she's got lots of it, and where she's not as comfortable, I can go for days.
Yeah, Donald's 100% the visionary of the business. He thinks big. He takes like mass amounts of action, where I'm the person that's always like pumping the brakes, like, okay, let's gather all the facts, do our due diligence. Let's figure out how this is going to work. I always say Donald's brain is like a computer that has multiple tabs open, and he just like toggles back and forth really, really fast, back and forth. And then like somewhere there's music playing and he's going like, where is that music coming from?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now you say you guys are polar opposites. What are your signs?
I don't know. Whatever November 29th is my birthday.
So
Yeah,
you're a Sagittarius. Are you a Sagittarius?
I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Julia is September 18th. So
You said September
18th.
You're Libra. Are you a Libra?
I think
You're
so.
Libra?
Yeah. I don't know that stuff as much. September
Or a Virgo. That is so cool. See, you very seldom see people, especially in relationships. Like it's usually like this from what I see most of the time.
it
But
can
it's
be.
the fact that you guys were able to like recognize, like, first of all, you got the astrology side going on. So you guys are already compatible, and then you took that and put that in business. Like, that's awesome. So was it a natural progression, or did you guys have to navigate challenges in aligning your vision?
Yeah, I was definitely not natural. I mean, obviously, as a couple, we connected pretty well right off the bat. But as far as going into business together, I was working in developmental services, and then I went on mat leave with my second baby. And everyone always said, "Julia, why don't you join Donald in business?" I said, "Absolutely not. One of two things are going to happen if I join Donald in business. Either one, we're going to get a divorce, or two, I will murder him."
He's not going to make it.
So he's still here. He's still alive. We're still married. So miracles do happen. But really what happened was, during COVID, so much had changed. My job position had changed. Like I said, I was on mat leave. And when I came back, it was really messy. It was really hard to navigate running a business. I also felt a huge disconnect in our relationship because he would come home or he'd be excited or he'd be upset about something. And at one point I asked him, like, tell me what is going on. And he kind of like, and ended up saying, you know what, it's just really hard for me to explain all the details. So like, I'm just not going to say anything. And he didn't mean anything by it. It was just the fact that there was so much logistics happening that I didn't understand, that to spend all that extra time when you're already worked up explaining it could be very frustrating. So that's why I felt like there was a big disconnect. I knew I had the skill set. It was a good move over and transition. And then it really just was a bit of learning curve for us both, having to learn to stay in our own lanes as far as business goes. And knowing that that's a Donald question, that's a Julia question, and just referring that to the team really, and kind of knowing where we shine and what's best for each other kind of thing.
I love that. As a married couple, how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance while running the businesses that require so much of your time and energy? Because that's what I wanted to know. Like,
yeah, that's a good question.
I think honestly, it just comes down to, I know that throughout our entire relationship, so she mentioned it was actually pretty smooth in our relationship. In my world, it wasn't as easy because I had to learn how to communicate the way that she wants to communicate. And I will speak in point form most of the time. I will give small thoughts and she has to fill in the blanks. But to me, that's a full sentence and we're good. And, and you don't need more information. But she likes all the flowery, the adjectives and all those things. And a lot of times when we were even just dating, she thought I was angry. I wasn't angry. I'm just ready to go. And like, let's just like, here's the thing. There's no point discussing it. Let's go. And she mentioned, like, I'm definitely a visionary. So I usually live in the 6 to 12 months from where we are today based on growth and all that kind of stuff. So I get frustrated with how slow things can move.
Yes.
And in the opposite, she gets frustrated with how fast I will make things move. So I'm already 10 steps ahead of her on let's do this initiative. And she's like, no, I need to research it. I need to slow it down. And the one thing that it took some time in business and in our relationship is she learned that she can shoot me down about any idea that I have, and it will not bother me. I might put up a little fight if I think it's great. But in the business world, I don't know, maybe because I'm in sales, I can take rejection all day, every day, as many times as need be, and it rarely brings me down. So whenever I have an idea, I actually enjoy at the end of the day if she shoots down some ideas, because we're not going to have a million things going off, although we sometimes do. We have a million things going off and then nothing's getting done well. So I think for the big portion of us with the business side of things, it's just a matter of Julia came in. It was painful for me to sit back and let her clean house and clean up the entire systems world. That was frustrating, but very much needed. And so now it's a matter of, I feel like I'm sprinting with one of those little parachutes on your back where it's kind of giving the resistance. And she's feeling like she's probably on a jet ski holding that rope and the boat's just flying.
Dear, holding on for dear life. Yeah.
So it's a matter of just understanding each other. And I do know that there are certain times when I have to approach her as my wife and approach her as a business partner. Either way, we're perfect partners for each other. So I just understand when I do get some pushbacks, and sadly there are some tears involved, then I need to really calm down.
It's a good indicator.
Go get some flowers, make a nice dinner.
Balance is definitely very tricky. I do think because the advantage of us both being in business together is that we can easily see a gap in our schedule. And for us, it looks like, hey, let's go grab lunch. The kids are in school. We have a bit of a break in the calendar, so we will go do that. Or just recently, we pulled the kids out of school. They're JK and grade 1. Pulled the kids out of school for a day, and we did a family day, a spontaneous family day. And so that's really the benefits of us running our own business, is that we have the flexibility to create balance whenever there's opportunity. We do work very, very hard. We work a lot in the evenings. So I don't think balance is something that we've completely mastered. It's a work in progress for sure. But I do think the communication understanding is, I'm full, I'm tapped out. And then Donald will be, okay, what tasks can I take over for you today? And that's kind of the conversation that always happens. I feel burnt out. This is what I need to do today. And just kind of having that understanding.
That's awesome. And then just kind of like to, I guess, dig a little bit more into that with tools, I guess, because my whole thing is, you guys are my first couple interview. And I feel like it was very exciting to like be able to have this conversation with you guys, because I feel like a lot of people, even if they don't have a business, because a lot of people I know they don't have businesses, like they're just working, right? And so like there's always so much conflict around just like small benign stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then you take like work is always going to be that, right? Yeah. What are some tools you guys have implemented, or would you suggest or recommend to other people to implement in order to make kind of like whether it's a business or just two people having regular jobs, make things flow a little easier?
That's a good question.
Communication.
I think it's just communication. I mean, I use an app called Todoist, and I essentially just jot everything down as stuff gets fired. Like I said, Donald's rapid fire. So if he says, hey, we got to do this, yada, 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 I just put things into the app right away. Donald does not follow that system at all. I tried tagging him in it so that we could be like a mutual thing. That does not work.
It went so well that I deleted the app.
He's like, this is stressing me out. So for me, it's just being organized with the calendars and the schedules. We live by our calendar for sure. That's probably the biggest one. We use our Google Calendar. Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
Again, if you read the book, The 5 Love Languages, which I was told while we were dating, that was a prerequisite before I could propose. I had to read that book. So the day before I proposed, I still had about 60 pages to go. And at the time, I was very slow very, very slow. So as you noticed, Julia grew up in a house, had copious amounts of mold. She did not live a very lavish lifestyle. And she grew up in this ancient old farmhouse, which is thankfully no longer in existence. And it gave her some pretty bad lung problems. As you can see, she goes off in these coughing spurts. But, so anyways, I read the Love Languages book, which at the time I was a little frustrated that I had to do it. I just wanted to propose. Now where I am, I read probably 20 to 40 books a year. But understanding what her communication language is and my communication language is, and then just communicating. Sometimes I'm just, let's do this. And I got to slow it down, remember what she needs, understand her things, and more that the two of us come from like a servant place in our marriage and in our business, where how can I help you? How can I help? Like, how can we help each other? And at the same time, I may have started the real estate thing and gone up from there. And I've had multiple 7-figure years in the business, and I've done amazing things and broken tons of records with that. But at the same time, I've never thought for a second I was better than Julia, because I would not have been able to do that if it weren't for her support early on. And so I always recognize that there's definitely an equal portion in our relationship. I don't think that either of us thinks that each other is better. In fact, I think that I will personally say that she's better than me, and she might argue the other way around.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of who can be the humblest and just constantly come from a place of servant leadership, I guess you could say.
No, that's really huge. And I love that you guys both recognize that. Because that's the one thing I think I see so frequently, or the one thing I don't see as frequently, right, is when ego comes into play in like couples. It's like that's the make or break of relationships. Most of them, like even the ones that I've been in, right, because the one person is not willing to take the time to understand how the other person is feeling, their needs, right? It's always like, well, they're not able to do that. So I think
Yeah.
that's a great piece of advice. Can you say the name of that book again?
The
For the
5 love
audience?
languages is probably right beside
Yeah,
Julia.
the 5 love languages. It's
The
theirs.
5 love languages. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on Audible? Do you know?
Oh, for sure. It's a huge book. I almost
I'm
need
Yeah.
to
reading
see
that
it.
next.
Yeah, we have it here. Yeah,
There it is.
it's a huge eye opener because I'm a quality time person, and Donald, come give me a hug, physical touch, and rub my back. And yeah, 5 love languages
Oh, yes.
by
Okay.
Gary Chapman.
Mary
Yeah,
Chapman. Okay. Thank you.
and it goes along the premise of filling your tank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there are
So,
definitely times where I have a very busy schedule, but I know that quality time, which is Julia's thing, means that I am going to be working all evening because the kids are at school and she's feeling depleted. So let's just go have a business meeting at a restaurant. Let's just wind down. We'll talk a little bit about business. And actually, the funny thing is, the last 2 times we went out to a buffet style restaurant, which we don't really do normal. It just happens to be the last 2 times we were at a buffet style thing, like sushi or whatever. The last 2 times we did that, it was like crisis mode in our business. Our phones were blowing up the entire time we're out there having lunch. Our phones went off for the entire hour and a half. So it was literally, she would be talking while I had my mouth full, and then she would pass the phone so she could eat. And that is how, we are hands on with the business. We don't sit up way high and mighty. We are very active in the business still.
that's definitely amazing. That's like y'all are alley-ooping up behind the other.
It wasn't fun. It was definitely frustrating, but it was just, yeah.
No,
But
that's
it's one of those things. If I wasn't involved in the business and knowing how important our clients are, it may have put me in a position where I could be looking at that and being like, "Are you serious? Can you not take an hour and have dinner with me?" Right? But because we both understand, how important our clients are in our business is. It doesn't mean that it's a priority, but we do know that we can shift and easily adjust our strategy so that later on we make up for that time, or we just adapt. It's a lot of it. It's just going with the flow.
gotcha. What has been the most rewarding moment for you as a couple in your professional journey so far?
Actually, I got to say, from my side of things, dragging her into the business. And again, I knew she would be great. I knew she would be a fantastic operations manager. And I knew from the beginning she would be very, very good at what she did, but she didn't believe me. So rewarding for me is not only dragging her into this, but seeing her flourish so well in such a short time that other people recognize it. And she's now on a panel at one of the largest real estate conferences in North America next month.
Yes.
So we're going to Vegas. Yeah, I'm speaking as well, but we're going to Vegas and she is speaking at R4. So going from nothing to dragged into it, not believing in herself, and then seeing her grow, flourish, and now she's leading others.
Wow. And how does that, like, what about you? Like, is that the same? Do you feel the same as far as like being able to speak? Or, like, do you have
I'm very excited for it. It's going to be quite an opportunity, and definitely feel very privileged. I feel like I should say something about Donald because he has such a nice thing about me. So maybe
tell me, right?
I mean, Donald has he's constantly learning and growing at like such rapid speeds. And I think for me, the most rewarding thing is just seeing us come together and build a business and still make time for our family, which is really our ultimate priority. And what really defines rich for us is as our family. And I think that really became real for us this year. I broke my knee and had a really bad blood clot that was life-threatening. It really made us sit back and think and reevaluate what was really important, and if the things we were doing were actually lining up with our goal, our big goal. And we made a lot of changes in this. Yeah, last year we made a ton of changes, really big changes in the business for the good. And then I think that's really what it comes down to is that's just still being a healthy, solid couple. Our foundation is 100% the Lord, and prioritizing our family and growing a business together.
That's amazing. Now, when you talked about like your pillars and stuff, do you guys have like family values and like you know how different some people have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'm like,
So basically, our faith is pretty strong, and that's where we place all of our hope, I guess you could say, and it gets us through some of the toughest times. Like Julie was saying, she had a blood clot, a 2.5 foot long blood clot that broke off, went through her heart and into her lungs. The day of the eclipse last year is when we found out about it, and it all came from the shattered kneecap, which she just tripped over a dog, and that could have killed her. But
Yeah.
but yeah, all of our hope comes from our faith. We both I play music. We both play music, but I play guitar or piano, and she sings at church, and we're both praise and worship leaders, so that's great. But as a weird enough, we have a couple things, little mantras, I guess you could say, for our family. One is that, especially with a 6-year-old and 4-year-old, hoarders don't whine. Stop whining, stop complaining, which is always true. Like in business, you can complain all you want, but it's your job to get past it and just suck it up and get it done.
Yeah.
And then another one, which what you'd think that as parents we would be leading our kids, but sometimes they lead us. And it's the craziest thing. They like to make up words. And it got to a point where they used this word for so long that and in frustration or being silly or whatever, I ended up using the word because I actually was tongue-tied and I messed up the word again today. So now if we yell for both the kids, all we gotta say is, "Come on, Quackaninas," and they're good to go.
That's great.
They came up with this word Quackanina, which means to
Whatever you want it to
it
be.
kind of means
really.
whatever you want to be. It's almost like that Hakuna Matata from the Lion King.
Yeah,
It's sort of
fill in the blank.
Yeah.
so we have a photo that we got done on Vistaprint where it says Quackanina across the middle, and to them, I guess if you were to ask them, if you're being a Quackanina, which is kind of where this came at, means you're being goofy, silly, and just enjoying life.
Yeah.
So it is the craziest thing in the world, and it's one of those things like, I can't believe I said it out loud. But as soon as I said it out loud, it kind of cemented it in that all 4 of us have used that word, and now it's a joke.
Yeah.
That's the best. That is awesome.
So, yeah, if you ever hear me yell out Quackaninas, that's not our last name. But our kids understand.
Although, side note, our brokerage is Remax, and because Donald's always answering the phone. Yeah, it's Donald from Remax. Our kids actually told their school teachers that their last name was Remax, and so we had to break the cold hard truth. So it's actually Porter, not Remax. They were convinced it was like Olivia Remax and Theodore Remax. So that was funny. We had to do some reprogramming there.
That is so funny. So more towards in the business side, in the competitive industry like real estate, how do you differentiate yourself and your work in a way that aligns with your personal values?
Oh, this is a good one. I don't know if Julie can handle that. We'll have to hop on this one. But
Go ahead. Go first. You go first.
Okay.
I know you're dying to.
So just to give you an idea of, and you said competitive, which that's exactly what it is. We're in Hamilton, which is 500,000-600,000 people, maybe. And on our board, the last time I did the math, I saw the stat, it was 3,781 agents.
Wow.
So a very, very saturated market. The average agent, I don't know what last year was, but the average agent did like 3.1 in 2023 deals, which is crazy. And we'll do easily 50. So in our area, the biggest thing that separates us from everyone else is one, my background in marketing. And then with the development of AI, that has leveraged it significantly. But within the marketing realm, if I could break everything down to one thing, which is just everyone who asks about AI, hey, how do you get clients from AI? Because they will cold call me, which is fantastic. But it's one of those things where it's like the way that it's done is just providing value. If as a business owner, whether it's real estate or selling donuts, if you provide value, then you'll always have a client, right? And that's all you got to do is just trust the process, keep providing value. And then, as Julie would say, show up as your authentic self. Because I could show you a certain side of myself with content, whatever. But then if I show up in person and you're like, who's this guy? Yeah, I'm not a professor. I'm not a university professor. I have a lot of it's a running joke in our family because we had an interview with a real estate agent, and they said they have no knowledge in their head. So I may have a fair amount of knowledge, but it's just from reading all this stuff. There's 5 shelves here.
Yeah, you guys have a very beautiful library. I was admiring it as I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of books, and it goes all the way up top too. So,
Nice.
but I've read almost every book on the shelf, and I've read them all within the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, maybe not. I just looked over there and saw the Lord of the Rings. Maybe not that one up there is just whatever. But it's one of those things where I am not that university style person where you won't even see me in a suit very often, which is crazy because I'm in real estate. I will show up in hoodie and jeans, but I'm also the one that will get under the house if there's an issue. I'm the first person that can look at a structural situation and get dirty. But it's just, again, what Julie would say is showing up from your authentic self, which is what she does in her transformational coaching with her clients.
Yeah. So these next 2 questions are for you, Donald, and then I have 2 for you, Julia.
Okay.
Donald, you've emphasized the role of AI and reshaping real estate.
Yep.
How do you see technology complementing human connection, and what advice would you give agents hesitant to embrace it?
Yeah. So off the hop there, kind of, you said one of the key things you said is how does it enhance human connection? Well, if anyone knows the band Oasis, Wonderwall, Champagne Supernova, stuff we grew up in the 90s loving, those 2 brothers hated each other, like to the core hated each other. They went on a 13 or 15-year hiatus because they couldn't stand each other anymore. And everyone was like, oh, this sucks. Like, they should get back together. Oasis is fantastic. Well, someone used AI to create AI Aces and put out a whole album because they missed Oasis so much. And it was like a year or 2 ago that came out. That took off so well and became a thing that the 2 Gallagher brothers reached out to each other, and through their hatred for someone trying to like replace them, they are now back on tour. Wow. So that is an example of a real life scenario where AI actually brought humans back together. But when it comes to really answering your question, especially in real estate or any business, you have AI on one side and you have IRL on the other side, which is in real life. Now, the more AI is used, and the more, especially any kind of graphical AI or like avatars, the more that is used, the further the chasm becomes between the 2 of them. Right? Like, I've been using AI with floor plans for the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And so it's like, I've been using AI for a long time, but people haven't caught on. And so now they're like, oh, did you know you can do floor plans with AI? I was like, yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing that since the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
Like, so the more and more AI is in technology is integrated into our lives, the further things will come apart. Right. So, but if you actually think about it, like, the consumer will always go to what's easier. So if you're not making their life easier, you're not providing value, then they're just going to go to whatever's easier. I'm not sure about you, but think about a gas station. Like, I had one of my best friends as a kid. His name was Kevin. His first job was at the Shell station pumping gas for people. You can't find that anymore, at least not around here.
No, you have to go to like Pennsylvania. There's like one gas station I know in Pennsylvania. And I was like, is this for real?
But it's more expensive. So will they pay for convenience? Absolutely, people will pay for convenience. Like, but you have to provide value. And a good example is Ozempic. Like, you have the option of going to the gym, paying a little bit amount of money, but having to be disciplined over a long period of time and become healthier. Or you can go get liposuction. Just come here, fall asleep, wake up, and you've already lost your 40 pounds. You got sore for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but you're fine. Yeah. Right. So it's people will pay for convenience, but if you're not giving them enough value, they're not going to pay for it.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. And with the plastic surgery, a lot of people, they don't realize that has to be maintained.
Yeah.
It has to be maintained every couple of years. So it's like, hey, you could either do it yourself, and anyways, that's a different topic.
That's a different topic, yeah.
Yeah.
your playbook for success combines psychology and marketing. Can you share one key psychological insight that real estate professionals often overlook but can transform their approach?
Yeah, I think if I'm sitting down with a real estate agent, the first thing that they need to realize is they have to work. There is no magical button you can push or money you can stick in the machine where clients will come to you, because all conversion will happen in the conversation you have with the client,
Mm,
right? So if it's a prospect, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm excited to work with you because you paid money into this machine. The people aren't that dumb, right? Yes, you can use marketing, you can use things to get them excited to put their hand up and say, hey, I would like to talk to you, but you still have to nurture the relationship. So that's kind of like part A. And then part B is for that marketing and the lead generation, everyone is different. So stop what I call periscoping. If you think of like a submarine, you're in your sub, you're in your ship, you're underwater, navigate the waters. Stop putting your head up out of water and look around like a periscope and look at what other people are doing.
mm,
And be like, oh, this guy's crushing it with door knocking and cold calling. Well, if you're a massive introvert, good luck. You're going
yeah,
to be like, take me 2 hours to get the first phone call out. Not going to work.
right.
Or maybe that you're like, oh, that person over there is doing amazing on social media. But if it takes you a half hour to make one video, like without even the editing or even the pre-thinking process, it's not for you.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of who are you? There are so many different ways that you can market yourself and your business and what you offer. So use those strategies and build it out so that way it doesn't feel like work.
Mm,
But you still have to put your effort in and match your goals. If your goals are high, your effort has to be high. Just because you want it doesn't mean it's coming to you.
exactly. So I guess I do have one more question because you just said
Yeah.
that. What are some recommendations that you would give people that maybe be that are introverted but are trying to perhaps grow and scale their business, or even just starting? Like, what would you recommend they do if they're
Yeah.
like
So, is it for like just any business or real estate?
any, you know?
Yeah. So any business is you don't have to, if you're introverted, chances are you're probably not as excited to get in front of a camera. So,
Mm,
but you can create value other ways. You can create value through LinkedIn articles. You can create value because LinkedIn articles are searchable through SEO, but your Facebook is not searchable as much, or Instagram, right? So it's a matter of you can create content, you can create value. You start thinking about things that you can do where you can almost like do a homework project at home and then send it out, right? So in real estate, one of the things is complex marketing, where you can actually use marketing, and it's maybe trickery, I've had one agent say, but you can take pictures of a building or a townhouse complex or something like that with your cell phone. So it's not a high quality, but still pretty good cell phones,
mhm.
and make a birthday card. Because if you pull off the birthday card, let's be honest, as adults, we go to the mailbox and we're like, bills, junk mail, garbage, bills, nothing exciting out of here. However, if you went to the mailbox as a kid and you get this little green envelope, you're like, what's inside? Is it $20 from grandma? That's exciting. So you pull on that nostalgia, and you can use a 4x6 card because it's good things come in small packages, right? So you have all these idioms that are in your mind. So if you have that in there, and especially with the way that the programming of it in the marketing, it's like psychology wise, you're framed in the right mind to open it. Then when you're opening it, it becomes nostalgic, and you feel like that the corporation or the condo or the HOA or whatever it is programming that, like it is giving that to you. Then you're like, oh, I kind of already somewhat trust it, and then you just have the language in there to not be so salesy, but to add value.
Yeah.
Right? That's just like one little example that you can do as an introvert that I've seen done with our business, and they've gotten a lot of success out of it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good piece of advice. And for people at home that are watching, especially for those that are trying to like, get some sort of business off the ground, but they might be a little apprehensive or nervous or scared for that reason. I think that could be really beneficial. And as far as like reading material, do you have any like advice or uh,
If you're a business owner, or if you're fighting your way through the corporate ladder, your next five moves by Patrick
Mhm.
David was phenomenal. That's probably the best book I read last year. But then again, you can still go into if you're, that's the kind of like an overall business or entrepreneurial business kind of idea. But there's tons of books like actually Surrounded by Idiots, which is a crazy book. It's fun. It helps you understand things a lot differently. And so this book actually helped me understand Julia a lot. So Thomas Erickson, sorry, yeah. So everyone would know the DISC personality traits and all that kind of stuff. This is the guy who kind of created the whole thing, and then DISC jumped from this guy.
Wow.
So, and it's about the red, yellow, greens, and blues. And the funny thing is you're usually two colors, and so I am these two, and Julia is these two, which is literally the polar opposite side of the scale.
Wow, that is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's probably one of my top books too, just because it helps you understand when you can understand consumer psychology on that level when you're talking to them, the faster you can start, and the more you practice it, the more you'll understand the different colors. The second you can do that, the faster you'll understand. Like I remember early on in sales, I thought people were mad at me all the time. No, they weren't. They're probably a high red, which is like they speak in bullet points. Their time is very valuable. They're the ones that are like myself, where if I'm just walking on the sidewalk, Julia's cool to just look at the flowers. I'm like, if there's someone ahead of me, I want to pass them for no reason at all. But I just want to pass them. So, but yeah.
Well, that's definitely really good information. And thank you for that book recommendation too. For people at home, please make sure you go and get that. Julia, your background in addiction counseling must have given you a unique perspective on human behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that influence the way you coach real estate agents?
Yeah, it actually is right in alignment. First of all,
especially the mental health part of her background.
Yeah. Don't always jokes with that. Real estate agents are either they're going to be into addictions or they already are. But it really is in alignment with you kind of mentioned earlier too about addressing the issues that are underneath the iceberg. And so I think even in real estate or in any business, there's usually a bottleneck. And so what I really try to do is break through those bottlenecks. What is holding you back from doing what you need to do in success, which is very similar in the addictions. That's what they go through, is the things that are underneath the iceberg are the big triggers and the things that are causing you to behave and act out in a certain way. So we're really addressing what's underneath that iceberg and seeing what we can do to create a strategy that is in alignment with your personality so that you're set up for success. And defining what rich really looks like for you. Because like Donald says, so often we spend all of this time looking at what everyone else is doing, whether that's on social media or just the appearance of things, which we know is, the thief of joy. Is seeing, oh, this person's so successful, this person's doing this. Even with Donald and I speaking, we don't have the perfect relationship by any means. We figured out some things that work for us, but what you see may not always be true. So what I challenge real estate agents is to keep in your lane, figure out what works for you, and devise a system and a strategy to be in alignment so that you can flourish and you have your balance of what's important to you, whether it's family time or vacation or saving for retirement. And it's all has to be unique to you.
I love that. So let me ask you a question. This is not the second question either, but as like coaching real estate agents, do you find that it's different than just like, when you just regularly life coach somebody? Is it like different than that because you're going a step further and helping them break through certain barriers, or like you said, going underneath the iceberg to obtain or reach these heightened levels of success? Do they have to like address like personal issues that are holding them back in order to get to that point?
With any kind of a business owner, we do say that you have to pay attention to your family time, your hobbies, your giving back. All of those things all play a factor into your business. So if one area is lacking, that's going to show up in your business. So if your goal is to spend time with your family, but you're never around and you're constantly missing your kids' baseball games, and you don't like how that feels, then you're not going to show up successful in other areas. Or I always say, if you are sleep deprived and you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to show up in a negotiation for your client when you are completely depleted and you're foggy and or you're triggered by their objections or their emotions, and you take that on as personal? You start coming back with, combativeness and defensiveness. That's not going to help your client as you're showing up as a professional and a guide. And now you are triggered by their emotions. So it is a little bit different when we do real estate coaching, because I'm also coaching that you need to figure out where your priorities are, and then it's going to show up in your business. But it does all come down to the fact that you need to carve out your time for yourself, the time for your family, and have those boundaries in place. And I know a lot of people always talk about boundaries and don't actually talk about how you can actually set that with your clients. And in real estate, it's tough. You're on call a lot of the time. Yeah. So we actually discuss scripting and words and phrases that you can use to actually set those boundaries so that you can live the life that you want to live and also reach the income goals that you have as well.
I love that. You've redefined what it means to be rich by focusing on alignment and fulfillment. Can you elaborate on how agents can apply this concept to their life and business?
Absolutely. So I'm going to brag about one of the amazing people on our team. She last year, she was pretty discouraged with real estate. She was still performing really well, but she just felt like the wind was kind of taken out of her sails. And she felt pretty discouraged. I grabbed a sip of water. Sorry, 1 second.
No problem.
No. She felt pretty discouraged. And so when we had a lot of conversations and talked about what she really wanted to do in real estate, and a lot of the generic answer for this question for real estate agents is I like to help people. So I like to explore that a bit deeper with them and really figure out what is it that you like about helping them. And when we really dug down, she realized that she wanted to help families who have disabilities, who are affected by disabilities, and to find accessible housing. So when we figured that out, then we were able to really build a whole strategy for her that is built around showing up as an expert for families that are living with disabilities and trying to find inclusive communities. And sorry, don't take over.
I'm old to get you every time. Yeah, so I can finish out a story because I know very well. So Julia actually had, through series of conversations on listening, which is one of the things that sometimes she'll be on a coaching call and I'll be in the background listening and be like, oh, you should say this. And she just ignores me. What are you doing? I got some good ideas here. So she ignores me, but it's because she's so focused and she can zone in really good with her clients. And as a result, she's able to get these breakthroughs. So she had a conversation about what it meant. And this agent, she is phenomenal, but she was very discouraged in her business and in her career path. And to be honest, she told us later on that she was even looking at maybe getting out of it. But then when Julia having that conversation with her and reigniting her passion, now she's like on fire and she is so excited. And it's just really nice to see, because when you can uncover that why and you can uncover what you're doing and why you're doing it, it gives purpose and value to what you're doing. And it's just incredible watching it. I get a chance to see it on the sidelines, so it's pretty sweet. But it's just one of those things where you have to listen, you have to rethink. You have to rethink what you're doing and constantly redefine what success looks like. Like, we've been very blessed where we've had multiple 7-year figures coming into our business. And that wasn't successful. As crazy as it sounds, that wasn't successful. I was not around. I was stressed out all the time. I hit burnout I don't know how many times in those years. My kids never saw me. So it was one of those things where that's not success. So now we'll still hit great numbers, but we'll hit half the number and we'll even bring home more money. So just because in business, as you would know, just because your gross commission or your gross income is that number doesn't mean you're netting that. You have expenses, an insane amount of expenses. Yeah. And one thing too, we would say to any real estate agent who's listening is get rid of the entitlement. You are owed nothing. Any business owner, you are owed nothing. Produce value, create value, and something might come, but you're never owed what you get tomorrow.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, which is, it makes having to work harder even that much worth it, But then I also like what you mentioned about, the expense of overworking and what it actually truly costs, right? Is it worth missing out on time with your family? And I think a lot of people have, that concept. So like backwards, they kind of base their success on what it says at the end of the year, you know what I mean? And not probably the resentment that maybe their kids are now holding towards them because, they don't understand. They're not looking at it from that, standpoint, and even your significant other. So I love that you guys were able to take that, and find a balance. That's awesome. I feel like a lot of people do need to hear that, especially in these times. Especially in these times. What lessons have you learned from each other in your personal and professional partnership that have shaped who you are today?
Lots of things. I think for me, the biggest thing is Donald's not afraid to take risks and to push that comfort zone. I'm a person that I'm happy at home in curled up on the couch and watching a rerun of Friends. Like that's a good time. But there is so much fulfillment when you can push yourself past that uncomfortableness, challenge yourself, and it's unbelievable what you kind of unlock. So I think Donald's really taught me like, hey, take a risk. If you fall flat on your face, well, you learn something from it. Try something else. Pivot. Try again.
Yeah. Was that hard for you? Because I'm a risk taker too. Like my ex-husband used to hate my guts. I'm gonna tell you, he used to hate my guts because he'd be like, "Kim, you're always doing something." I'm like,
Yeah. Oh yes, it's very hard. Most of the times when Donald's pushing me out of my comfort zone, it's me kicking and screaming all along the way. But I have learned over the years that it generally is rewarding in the end. Sometimes we fall flat on our faces. We have taken adventures that have cost us tons of money and have not profited what we were promised or whatever else. We've done that a tons of times. But we always just sit back and go, okay, well, what did we learn? How can we improve that? What can we do better next time? What questions do we need to ask? And we just try to always make it a learning experience.
Awesome. And what about you, Donald?
I've learned to listen to her more. So
every man that one.
But in all fairness, like we've taken some risks on some services and some product offerings that didn't deliver. And I can think of last year, I probably spent about $20,000 on scams. Well, they weren't really like the job kind of got done, but it wasn't a good business choice.
Yeah.
So, and Joe was like, "Are you sure about this?" Yeah, I'm fine. I'm confident. But that's where my overconfidence sometimes can get in the way. And Julia is hesitant to do anything. We'll slow it down and we can make better decisions. So, that's probably a thing for me, just listening to her more and trusting her, even though I trust her a ton, but it's just trusting that she knows what she's doing more.
I love that. And that's key. Like that's always key. What's one piece of advice you wish you could have given your younger selves when you were just starting out in your respective careers?
I would say the biggest thing, sorry, I have this last end of this cold, so this cough is horrible. But I would say the biggest thing for me is it's really the idea of that. I want to say you want to be selfish in your business. It's not really, you were constantly building and growing. But I feel like when we first started the business, it was all about, well, what can we do for everybody else all of the time? And when we look back, none of the stuff that we were doing were even in alignment with what we wanted for our life or for our family. And so it was, why are we doing this then? Why are we doing all this late nights, spending all of this money, doing all of this stuff when it's not actually what the business that we want to build? So I think having that framework kind of rewired in our brains that we need to build something that is in alignment with what we want, we would have started off a whole lot different.
I love that. Okay. When you think about the future, what impact do you hope to leave on the real estate industry and the lives of the people you work with?
Do you want me to go?
You can go.
Oh, and that fires me up big time. So, one, I would say, stop making noise. Stop adding to the reason why the public dislikes real estate agents. We've become the used car salesman that the 80s used to be known as. For one, I have a huge problem in our area with real estate agents booking a showing between 12 and 12:30, and then they show up at 1. It's like stuff like that. Be professional. Bring the professionalism back to the industry, because stuff like that is extremely frustrating for both the sellers, who are very anxious and on the edge and trying to present the best for the buyers, and all the time and energy it takes for them to get the house ready, for them to show up late and not care. Don't forget, there's still a person there, and you should respect them.
Mhm.
That's number one. And two, with the noise, a lot of people, every time there's a rate drop or anything in the industry, they just screenshot headlines from Bloomberg or CNN or whatever, and just, there you go, there's my content. Oh, what does that mean? If you are a professional, break it down for anyone looking at it. Does that create value? No, because they already had that show up on their Google feed. So break it down. If you're an expert, show expert advice. Don't just screenshot and say, well, I provided value. That's not a post. That's actually negative impact.
Yeah. Not to mention kind of lazy.
Super lazy. Yeah, stop. Not and again, I'll talk in these realtor threads all the time and whatever about the stuff that I'm doing with AI, and just like, yes, I do get clients from AI. They will cold call me from the AI that I use, but it's not some app that you pay money into. It's the result of me using AI to do a better job at marketing and do a better job at content creation, better job at writing. I'm still navigating it. It's almost like a factory worker. I'm still managing the machine, but the machine's just better at it than I am. I still need to guide it though from the things that I know.
No, I definitely I agree with that. Like with AI, like at first I was apprehensive to use Chat GPT. In little sidebar, there was something on TikTok a while ago. Someone said if you put like a full description of yourself, including your age, and then ask it, to create a layout of how you can make, become a millionaire in like, a year or 2 years time. And by golly gosh, like when I say it broke it down. So I'm like, okay, so at this point, like it's just really a helping hand, in my opinion. Right. So it can lay out the blueprint for you, but it can't do the work for you.
Can't do the work.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Great example.
You know, it's up. You have to be able to use it, and don't allow it, the other way around. Because some people just use it and turn their brain off. I'm like, no, my brain still has to be on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can tell when someone's just copying and pasting and throwing it in. It's like, oh, that's brutal.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you could just distill your journey into one key takeaway for our listeners today, what would that be?
I would say be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it all comes down to. This is why Donald's in a hoodie. This is how he shows up. Again, because people are so sick and tired of seeing fake, seeing salesy. Be who you are, because it's not exhausting that way. You're just showing up with what you have, the skill sets that God has given you and the gifts that you have. You're going to attract your ideal client in whatever business you're in.
I definitely get that. Okay, you were going to say something.
Oh, me? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would say
he's got a stronger one, probably.
No, for me is understand where you are. Are you are you an integrator, which is what Julie would be, or are you a visionary? Understand that and find your counterpart. Whether you have to hire them or you have to do both parts for a while until you can hire the opposite side. But when you can get both of them flourishing and doing it well, create systems or start offloading. The faster you can start offloading the small tasks, and you can live like I live by automate, delegate, eliminate. The fastest I can do any of that with any of my tasks. So automate. Can I automate this? Can I delegate it to somebody else? Can I just eliminate it all completely? The faster you can do that, the more you can start buying back your time. And the further you go down into being an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, you're going to realize that time is way more valuable than money. If you work 9 to 5, you have the other thing around. You're like, I work 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. Money is more important than time. But when you truly live as an entrepreneur, you will realize that your time there is no value to it. Like there's no dollar sign you can put to it unless you look at it by the rule of you are only worth the smallest task that you're doing. So if I'm going to spend time doing data entry, well, I guess I'm only worth like $8 or $10 an hour because I can hire a virtual assistant to do that for $8 or maybe less. Right. So.
Yeah, that's definitely those are some really good like input. Sorry, my words go sometimes. So basically just make sure that you understand that you're being authentic, and then kind of have like a baseline for what it is that you want, like understand your value. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand the importance or prevalence of both of them, right? At one point I had a 9 to 5. I think I told you guys last time I spoke to you, I was working a 9 to 5. And even though I was on production, and I was making good money, it wasn't what I wanted to do. So, I wasn't happy in it. And, so it's harder for me to invest in something if I know that I'm not meant to be doing that anyway. So I feel like you guys explained that so perfectly. So I want to thank you guys for taking your time to come on to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory today. It was a blast talking to you. I feel like you guys added so much value. You gave a lot of important insight, and thank you for the book recommendations.
Yeah.
I'm downloading that like immediately.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. So I want to make sure that I have the link correct for the audience to be able to go and find you guys for your services. Is that right?
Yeah, so theagentleague.com should be one. I can probably type it into this chat here for you.
All right.
The Agent League.
And you can also find us on social media under just searching the Agent League as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the social media, we throw up a lot more stuff. Obviously, a website, that's more of like a funnel for the course and stuff. But if you want actual nuggets for your business or whatever, then I would definitely say go take a look at our social media. And even in one of the secret things that we do off to the side, it's called a sawdust effect. We do have a good marketing background, and we do have a lot of stuff for social media, email marketing, all that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of small businesses that they offset some of that marketing to us, and we can run that for them at a fraction of a lot cheaper than you would find anywhere else.
Wow, amazing. So business owners could go there to
if they reach out, if they message us on our social media, if they can find a way to get in contact with us, message us through the website or find us on social media, we'll have a conversation and we'll be dead honest, because there are people we've turned away like, no, this isn't a good fit. You need to go here. But if it's a good fit, that's great.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys again. And to the audience at home watching, please leave in the comments. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. What do you find most valuable in this episode? Also, make sure you subscribe, like, and also check out theagentlink.com. And until next time, okay, bye.
Bye. Thanks again.